The Lover's translation reimagines the scriptures by seeing God as a loving parent who is writing a love letter to adopted children who have never experienced unconditional love before. This loving parent enlists the help of other children who were adopted before to share stories and experiences of their loving relationship with the Father. These experiences and stories are then documented and compiled into one book so that all the adopted children who will come after would be able to refer to it. On this page, we will go through this book of love from Genesis to Revelation in order to reveal the message of love that can be found in every chapter.
Hey kid, my name is Moses. When I was like 40 years old, Father called me. I didn't know him then, but he gave me the power to do all these signs and wonders and slowly built my trust. I have to confess, it was really hard for me to understand why he wanted anything to do with me, because I'd done some horrible things when I was younger. But he asked me to trust him and made me lead all the people in my nation out of slavery. It was actually really impressive. But after a while, it became really frustrating because they didn't trust him. And so they kept doing the opposite of what he said they should do. Then one day, he called me up to the mountain where we used to meet up and told me the story of where we came from, how he created everything, why he loves us so much, and even why it's so difficult for us to trust him. This is how it all started. In the beginning, Father wanted children of his own. If you've ever met someone who really wants kids, you'll understand. The first thing a new parent does is prepare for their child. Where would they live? What would they eat? So Father prepared. First, it needed to be a well-lit space. Then he separated the water from the dry ground so that his kids would have a place to walk and run around. Father lived outside of time, but his little kids would need to grow up with days and seasons before they would be able to handle living forever. It's kind of like training wheels, but with time. They would need plants and trees for food, and they would also need animals. The animals were great as pets to play with, but also to help his kids with their chores and tasks. It took Father 6 days to make all the preparations, and 1 day to rest. He looked at everything he had prepared for his children, and it looked good to him.
After his day of rest, Father rolled up his sleeves and started putting everything in its proper place.
When he formed his child,
He built the garden to put him in. The garden was like a nursery and a playroom and a classroom and an office, all in one. Next, he brought out trees to make food for his child, and there was also a big river in the middle where water flowed. Father didn't say how long it was before he told his child to start taking care of the garden. But he must have been strong enough to feed himself, because it was around this time that Father told him about a tree in the garden that would make him so sick that he would die if he ate from it. Then God figured that his child was lonely, and this was when he brought out all the animals and pets he had prepared earlier. His child named all the pets, but was still lonely, so God knew it was time for another child. I know someone who went through IVF and had 2 embryos, but only implanted one. Years after the first child had grown healthy, they implanted the second embryo and had another child. That's a great picture for how Father formed the woman. He had always planned to have 2 of them, and he planned for them at the same exact time. He just brought them out at different times. They spent time with Father every day, took care of the garden together, played with the different animals, and ate from many different trees, except the one that was bad for them. It was great. But it all came to an end. You see, Father has an enemy who tries to destroy everything he creates. This enemy convinced the snake to lie to Father's second child, the woman, who had not been around as long as the man. She ate the fruit and convinced the man to eat it, too. Then they got scared and went to hide, because they knew they were in trouble. Father came to spend time with his children, but they were hiding. He asked them why were they suddenly afraid of him, and they told him what they did. Even though the man was older, he blamed the woman like a tattletale, and then the woman blamed the snake. Father was sad. His children were supposed to trust him, but they had decided to obey someone else instead. He said to them, "If you continue to do what the enemy tells you, it will destroy everything. First, the snake will have to crawl and will no longer be friends with the woman. The woman will be in pain when she's giving birth. Instead of being best friends, the two of you will never agree. The man won't be able to find good food to eat. Instead of a green garden of trees, you'll only find dead thorns and thistles that will harm you. I warned you that the fruit would make you sick and kill you. Look, it has killed every good thing about your life." Sadly, he said, "My children have become independent like me. But they're making the wrong choice, so I can't let them stay here and continue making bad choices forever. Since they've chosen to spend their time out there with the enemy, instead of in here with me, I have to let them go." So he let them go and shut the door. The two of them went away, wearing the new clothes father had made them. But what they didn't know was that he was already making plans to bring them back home to him.